I remember that day really clearly. It was December the 21st. And I'd been getting pain in my sort of back shoulder, and I'd had lung surgery. So in May 2012, I'd had to have a third of my right lung removed because it had spread there. You know, I had pain. I just thought, oh, it's some kind of complication from the lung surgery. So I went in to see the doctor, not at all prepared. And then he started to talk to us, and I was with my husband Al, and I just broke down. I just started to cry, and I think Al started to cry as well. And I managed to pull myself together fairly quickly, because I didn't want to sob all over the doctor, basically. And I wanted to ask the questions, but we weren't prepared for it. From my experience, doctors don't ever tell you a time frame. We didn't ask for one, and so we didn't get given one. And doctors don't tell you it's terminal. What they say to you, and what my doctor said to me was, you know, there's nothing more we can really do at this stage for you other than manage your symptoms. And of course he said, I'm really sorry.
My wife was 42 years of age when she died. She lived with this rare form of bone cancer for over 10 years. She had over 13 major operations. 4 of those were amputations. So each time she had to learn the basics of how to walk again. She had 2 7-month chemo regimens, numerous radiotherapy sessions, blood transfusions, several lung drains, spent many, many nights in hospital. Cancer, I suppose, did everything to destroy her life and our lives together, but it didn't. And I think in a large part that was due also to the compassion from the variety of doctors and nurses that were with us along that journey. And the care that she received wasn't focused around data, technology, and the degrees that you have. It was based around listening to what she wanted, to what she needed, and to the kind of life that she wanted to lead. I think listening is of fundamental importance in any aspect of life, but particularly so in the world that you're in. And I do think that because I honestly believe, indeed because I've seen it firsthand, that by doing this one simple thing, you can help deliver a series of really important moments in a person's life. And I think also, indeed, your own. On George Street, there's an image of Sir Joseph Bell, and he actually inspired Sir Arthur Conan Doyle to write Sherlock Holmes. And he was an extraordinary teacher and doctor by all accounts. And that was because he spent most of his time questioning, looking, but most of all listening to what his patients had to say. He was able to come up with quicker conclusions in terms of what ailed them, how to treat them. The simple act of listening means so much to people when it's their health and life that you are discussing as well. It means that you take an interest in them, it means that you value them, it means that they're important and they have a voice that needs to be listened to. And you care about that. And certainly that was the case with Louise. Time is of fundamental importance to someone who has a long association with illness, the quality of the time they have. And you need to be able to step into their shoes and be able to imagine the life that they lead, the life that they want to lead. And I think this is particularly so when you receive a terminal diagnosis and there's just a limited amount of time left. I think it helped with us that Louise was such an intelligent girl, not only knowing her dosages and the effects on her body, but but it also she'd taken the time to read up on her illness and on the different forms of treatment that she could receive. So she was always able to articulate things in a very, very clear and distinct way, a very simple way, ask the right kind of questions at the right times. And that obviously created a better understanding between herself and the people that looked after her. For the most part, I would say that everybody always listened to her. They appreciated that she knew her own body very well. And because the communication was so open and available no matter where or when, and I say that because several consultants gave us their personal mobiles and were always responsive immediately whenever we were in contact with them. This helped build that really strong bond of trust. The ritual of talking to someone should be embedded across all healthcare. Each and every one of us has a story which is quite sacred. For the patient, it feels like they're not just a number, they're not just a name on a board, they're not one of many. You know, they exist to you, they're an individual. It helps build that trust because they think, I mean something to this person, they really care about me and they're going to do the best to actually make sure I get the best care possible. And certainly that was the case with Louise. You know, without actually listening to her story, she wouldn't have received the great care and we wouldn't have been able to live the life that we ended up living for the last 6 months that she was still alive. She lived life to the full, to the very end, and I genuinely know that that is because of the way she was helped, the way she was treated, the way she was looked after by everybody.
You were like that.
When we weren't listened to, there really was a fundamental and serious breakdown in communication, but primarily Louise's care and treatment. This is an image of Louise during her first chemo cycle. I think she looks really cute in it. But what the image doesn't tell you is that when we were admitted to that ward, to that particular bed, Louise immediately recognised the room. She knew that that was the same room that her brother Richard had died in previously. Not many people knew that she had a brother who died from leukemia 10 years before Louise did. And he also had the same leg amputated. We made sure that the nurses were aware of this as well. But unfortunately, they were unable to move Louise for the first 5 days, which meant she had to stay next to the bed that her brother had died in. It would have been the easiest thing to actually move a couple of beds around, change the circumstance and change the environment. But everybody was too busy to listen at that time. But it had a major impact on Louise. And not only is that unfair, I think, when she was going through a really traumatic chemotherapy cycle, but it would be unfair on any individual given what the circumstances were. Another example was we were given a very stark choice very quickly about children. There was a particular doctor who said the whole thing was absolutely pointless for us to even think about having children, and being given the option of any kind of fertility treatment or freezing embryos or whatever it may be. She said the whole thing was absolutely pointless. She didn't listen to Louise talk about her hopes for children and for the life that she wanted to have in the future. It took a lot of hope away from us immediately. It was quite a brutal way to treat both of us, almost as children, talking down to us and not taking the time to listen to what we wanted. Louise was 31 at the time and wanted children badly, so you can only imagine what kind of impact that has on you. It would have been better if that person had have just stood back, listened first, and then delivered the news just in a slightly more empathetic way, having listened first of all to what Louise wanted. This particular image that you see now this was taken in 2012 when she went through her amputations. It'd been agreed with the registrar the day before that she would have an epidural. Just before she was due to go into surgery, she said something didn't feel right, that she didn't think the epidural was working. The person that was administering this at the time, he reassured us that the epidural was fitted, that everything was fine. Though Louise did say, "You sure? You sure?" I was like, I couldn't see what was wrong, but she just felt it wasn't. As you can imagine, something went wrong. The epidural hadn't worked whatsoever, and she went into shock. And we nearly lost her. She was in the HDU unit immediately afterwards, full body going into shock, waking up from the amputation. It was quite an horrendous experience. People make mistakes, you know, it wasn't done deliberately, but it could have been averted if she'd been listened to. And again, it's quite a small thing to do, but again, it's about the patient knowing their body better than anybody else. And I don't think it's an ignorance or slight in just actually acknowledging this. I think far from it. It takes a real strength to actually listen to somebody, a patient who's unqualified but knows their own body, and accept that they will know what's going on with them. And that will also, by listening to what they're saying, provide a better healthcare. Louise was an amazing person. She had an amazing passion for life. And I think we only get one chance to express that passion, to live that life that we want to lead. So I'll just return to time and what that meant to us. What the practitioners who looked after Louise gave us with that time. Louise went on to make 2 documentaries in the 6 months that she lived after the diagnosis. One of those was for the BBC Culture Show. It was called Alive in the Face of Death, and it was with the photographer Rankin.
I think that these are really, really exciting.
I think they're fantastic. I am really hoping that I'll make the exhibition in May. That's my next goal. I mean, I remember coming out of the shoot and saying, oh, I'm so happy, you know, if I die today, I'm just so happy. But then of course, the next day I changed my mind. I was like, actually no, I want to go to the exhibition. So yeah, it's been special for me on that level, yeah. I've made it.
The second was BBC Radio Scotland, and it was called Advice from the Edge of Life, and it was Louise, recorded 2 weeks before she died, talking about her terminal diagnosis and how she approached all of that. In between that, she started her own blog, which has now reached over 200,000 people worldwide. It's been used by several charities, and in that blog, she talks very openly and honestly about the diagnosis, time, saying goodbye, everyday moments of life. And it's an incredibly inspiring and positive blog. That was picked up by the Daily Mail, Sunday Mail. It was published by The Scotsman, Scotland on Sunday, The New Statesman. Lots and lots of different papers covered it and shared her story. We realised that the most important thing throughout our life with the illness was the relationships that we had. Our relationship, Louise's relationship with the carers, with her parents and her friends. The one between patient and practitioner is fundamental. I would say that each one of the practitioners who really made a difference to our lives asked the simplest of questions. What do you want to do with the time that you have? What specific things do you want to achieve? What fears do you have? I think what they really did was put Louise's life back into her own hands. Mortality has become highly medicalised with the advances in the technology and the treatments that can be given these days. I think as professionals you all know how to preserve life as long as possible, but the end is different, I think, and it needs a quite different approach to how we look at that. So to end with, I'd just like to share with you what Louise had to say about time.
You do really become aware of how you should have valued your time more in the past, I suppose. You just become aware that you're not in charge and you can't control it, and it's not unlimited, and which is something you sort of do feel, I think, especially when you're younger. You feel that you've got all the time in the world sometimes. I am aware of that now, but I guess it's a bit late to be aware of that. Yeah, every day is a gift in the sense that I wasn't expecting to be here this long, but I don't feel obliged to challenge myself to do something important every day. I challenge myself to just enjoy my day and be happy.